right thing was suspended for the choice he made. CBS's Jim Crisula.
A judge in Virginia Beach, Virginia, said it was, quote, appalling that a school suspended a 6th grade student for waiting to report that another student had brought a bullet to class. The judge ruled in favor of the child's mother after she sued St. John the Apostle Catholic School for breaching its contract with her when administrators suspended her son for a day and a half last September.
Among this year's additions to the Library of Congress National Recording Registry.
Does everybody really know what time it is?
Debut albums from Chicago and Tracy Chapman. A Roy Rogers and Dale Evans song is on the list, too.
Happy trails to you.
And the oldest entry among them, the Hawaiian Quintet's recording from 1913. Dow is up 191. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Ooh, ma.
What was that?
That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm, I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
Thank you for making Total Wine & More America's #1 online source for spirits, beer, and wine. Better than all those delivery apps. Total Wine's prices are up to 30% lower with super fast delivery and no hidden fees. Order direct at TotalWine.com and pay less today.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Get 5 quarts of O'Reilly Full Synthetic Motor Oil and a MicroGuard oil filter for $29.99. In-store only. Limit supply.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Department is going door to door asking for your help in the 2025 special census. The only information they will ask for is your street address, the number of residents living at that address, and their first and last names. That's it, and it only takes a couple of minutes to complete. Information gathered for the special census provides funds to improve our public safety division, and that benefits the entire community. You can also fill out the special census online at murfreesborocensus.com.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome in. It's Wednesday morning, and welcome to the Roundtable on WGNS. Glad to have you with us. Beautiful day outside, but if you are looking out the window and say, man, that looks nice and warm, well, it's nice, but it will be warm later. It's a little chilly right now, but it's going to be a beautiful day, and we've got a little rain coming in tomorrow, and Brian will tell you all about that a little bit later, and the folks from Rutherford Weather. Glad to have one of my dearest friends today as our guest, and I knew her as Bev, and now she is Dean Keel, the dean of MTSU's College of Media and Entertainment, Beverly Keel, and that, of course, is the artist formerly known as Masscom. It is the College of Media and Entertainment. Thank you for taking some time today. I know a dean's life is never slow.
Well, honestly, I was a little surprised to be invited back because when I worked here in college, I inserted a tape wrong and knocked the entire station off the air. Unfortunately, is when owner Bart Walker was in the car listening. So
it always works
he didn't
out that
fire
way.
me, but it was not a good feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that Bart has forgiven me. It also helped that Bart was my dad's best friend.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
that helped.
Exactly. And you and I go back to when we were both in college, and we both had part-time jobs right here.
Yeah, we met in this station,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and almost right in this exact spot where we're sitting right now.
But you were older. You were an older man.
You were a child prodigy.
Yeah,
you were just a mere. I don't even know if you were a teenager yet. No, you were, But I was older, a few years older, and you were, and because you were in mass comm at the time, and also you were playing volleyball for Diane Cummings at the time, Diane Turnham now.
Coach C,
and you know, you were a McGavick grad. Here's one of your, has to be your greatest claim to fame, is you and Joe Dubin went to high school together.
But I'm older.
You were older than him?
I'm older than Joe.
Well, he looks older than both of us.
Stop now. Don't you talk about my sweet Joe. I'm so proud of him and all that he's done, especially with his work in the mental health area.
Oh, yeah.
That is really important.
Exactly. And he is very active. And if you follow Joe on social media, you'll see he gives a daily message, and also in particular gets a little deeper even on Sundays, because
yes, the Sunday blues.
Yep, Sunday scaries, that kind of thing. But Beverly's here. We're going to talk. We're going to, you know, this will not be the most buttoned up interview of all time.
It won't even be an interview.
And is more of a conversation about a lot of different things. But first of all, we've touched on it just a little bit about your background, but you come from a media family. You are now the dean of the College of Media and Entertainment. And you did you get your writing bug from your dad? And tell folks about your dad, because I know you're very, very proud of him.
I wish we could just talk about my father for the entire hour. My father was the funniest, smartest person, Pinckney Keel. And he was at the Nashville Banner for almost 30 years, and he died about a month before I graduated high school. But he was so funny. He was the son of a Baptist preacher, so they lived all over the South. But he graduated from Mississippi College, which is a small Baptist college, taught English at a private school, hated it, and his uncle said, well, why don't you go talk to old Bill and see if he has any advice for you. So he went to old Bill's house, knocked on the door. William Faulkner opens the door.
Old Bill
was William Faulkner.
Wow.
And they went out under the old roan oak tree, and his niece brought them lemonade, and he said, Mr. Faulkner, I think I want to write. And he said, well, if you want to write, go to a newspaper, because you'll learn quickly. And so my dad went to the Jackson Clarion Ledger, got a job there, and at some point interviewed Elvis very early on. And he was driving back to the office, and in his mind he came up with the nickname Elvis the Pelvis, which stuck, but Elvis hated it. Elvis said it was very childish. And years later, I interviewed Lisa Marie Presley, and I said, oh, you know, my father came up with that name. She goes, well, you know, my father hated it. And it just made me laugh to no end. But my dad, and then my dad loved music. And he and Bart Walker hosted a show on WAMB, Big Band. And they even used some of my father's records. And my dad wrote about music for a while at the Banner. And so my sister would have told you that I was out interviewing people at 4 and 5 years old. I talked to everybody all the time. And she would say, do you have to do that? And then, of course, we talked about current events at the dinner table every night, and we had stacks of magazines everywhere, and I'm a magazine junkie. So I guess I had no choice but to do this. And then my grandfather was a professor. He had a PhD in Hebrew after World War I.
Wow.
And was a preacher and a professor. And my brother also got a PhD in astronomy in astrophysics, and he retired from the University of Alabama. So we have journalism and academics in my background.
Wow, and you know, I can see you as a little girl hanging around with your dad, and in the offices at 1100 Broadway, and in Nashville, and you know, the smoke-filled newsrooms at the time, phones ringing, typewriters clanging. What was that like for you as a kid?
Well, I remember they had these big computer consoles. They weren't like the computers we have now. But and Dad would say, "Oh, you can sit down and type." But I was so afraid that I would hit something and it would go to press. So, But Mary and Bill Hance, Miss Cheap,
yep.
She was there then. Beth Stein, who went on to have a column, and she was an editor at the Banner. They were there, and then Jack Gunter hired me my sophomore year. I called him in December to say, do you have anything I can do over the holidays? And I thought they'd have me, emptying trash and doing the mail or whatever. And they got me reporting, and I was hooked. So I worked all through college.
Biddle was there in sports.
Joe Biddle was there.
Yeah.
Joe Caldwell.
Yep.
And Joe Caldwell and Larry Woody were buddies.
Right. They the interesting, one of the interesting parts about Caldwell and Woody is they both covered NASCAR. And so the Tennessean Banner rivalry, Larry wrote for the Tennessean and Caldwell for the Banner. Caldwell ended up marrying Boots Donnelly's sister-in-law, by the way, later on, and who Joe Caldwell's wife and my mother went to nursing school together at St. Thomas. So anyway, all that, but Biddle and Caldwell would be, there are endless stories of stuff that Biddle or that Caldwell and Woody did, whether in Daytona, Talladega, Charlotte. But all the while they were traveling together, they were trying to one up each other in the rivalry between the Tennessean and the Banner, trying to get the scoop in the story.
But they would also share notes if one of them was out too late. So they covered for each other too. But Joe Caldwell was a close friend of mine. Yeah. And when I was in college, would take me to OVC games with him. So he was a really special guy.
Yeah, really. He died.
Loved Darrell Waltrip.
Yeah, he did. Yep. And died way too early.
Yes.
And you went to McGavock as a young girl in high school.
And we should mention boyfriend Pat.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a good friend of yours.
He is.
And he went to McGavock as well. So shout out to Pat Blair, known in Murfreesboro as Boyfriend Pat.
Boyfriend Pat. And he's now works for the city and out at the golf course at Old Fort. But now, did you all meet in high school?
We met in ninth grade at 7 a.m. ninth grade English class.
Really?
And didn't date in high school, and always were good friends. And then reconnected at a little informal high school reunion the year we were all turning 50.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd gone all that time, really, and not had
my phone
contact.
used to just like purse dial him.
Right.
But no, I just he would tell you, once I saw him again, that I just chased him and was smitten. So we'll just stick with that story.
Yeah, he makes it. He likes that story. But you came to Middle, and did you what? Because you are you have more star friends than any of my other friends. I mean, I would love to go through your contact list and your cell phone, because there are more big names in your contact list than anybody I know. But you've had an interesting kind of dual path in you obviously have a passion for teaching and helping students, but you also have, in the music business, you have been, I saw one bio of you, it called you an activist. And you have been in the very best possible way for equality with women on country radio, and that's simplifying it way too much. But you are a champion of women in music.
Well, it's interesting because often growing up, people tell students that they have to choose one thing,
mm-hmm.
and I'm proof that they don't. So my degree from MTSU is in mass communication, and with a specialty in broadcast journalism. And in my
you both,
yeah, right. I started in print and fell in love with it. So I've worked for a newspaper. I've been a columnist, a magazine editor, a publicist, a label executive, an artist manager. And I've been at MTSU since '95, full time. So it makes for a very busy and fulfilled life. And with journalism in the music industry, you need to stay involved to remain relevant, to be able to teach your students what's going on today. So, if I'm teaching, I can say, this is a problem I'm dealing with this week.
Mm-hmm.
So
in the real world.
In the real world.
Yeah.
And then when I'm in the real world, I'm making contacts that then I can help get my students internships and jobs. So it feeds each other. And every year I love this teaching in MTSU more. So it's really now I'm, virtually all dean all the time. And then I work with one artist named Jamie Johnson, but I don't have time to, I don't write anymore. And I miss that. So I'm thinking about starting a Substack or something to figure out how to do that. But, being a dean is a lot. I love it, but I don't want to take any time away from that.
Yeah, well, you need to write because you have such a gift for that. And if I see that Beverly has a long Facebook post, so this is going to be good, and it's always very clever, and it's always fun to see. When you started, like you said, teaching at MTSU in 1995, which we're not going to do the math on when that was, but
I'll be 59 this month.
Well,
listen, I'm proud to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're on the right side of the grass this morning.
Correct.
But did when you first started teaching in '95, was that because you wanted a job or was it a calling, or what was your motivation when you first came here to teach?
So when I graduated, my senior year, Ed Kimbrell encouraged me to apply for graduate school. And so I applied to Northwestern and Columbia and got into both of them, but I wanted to go to Columbia, of course, in New York. And
which you did.
The National Banner sent me on full scholarship.
Really?
So I had to come back and work 2 years there, and I ended up working 5. And like a year later, I just came back to MTSU to visit, ran into Dennis O'Neill, and he said, you should consider teaching. And I said, I love journalism. And he goes, well, why don't you be an adjunct just to see if you like it? So I started teaching media writing and did that for a couple of years, and then did entertainment journalism as I became a music journalist, music publicity as I became a publicist, and then joined in 95, and it was the greatest thing ever. And I just thought, God, how do I get paid to do this? It's so amazing.
Yeah, and now here you are as dean of the College of Media and Entertainment, and we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Time to take a break on this Wednesday morning. Beverly Keel, the dean of the College of Media and Entertainment at MTSU, plus so much more. An hour will just not fit it all. We'll be back with more in a minute here on WGNS.
The Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Department is going door to door asking for your help in the 2025 special census. The only information they will ask for is your street address, the number of residents living at that address, and their first and last names. That's it, and it only takes a couple of minutes to complete. Information gathered for the special census provides funds to improve our public safety division, and that benefits the entire community. You can also fill out the special census online at murfreesborocensus.com.
First Shot, growing in Christ with life and athletic skills.
So we teach God's Word at everything we do to implant it in them so that they understand that the only way to get through the world is with God on their side.
First Shot founder and executive director Andy Herzer.
Our focus is on our inner city here at Patterson Park.
From academics to athletics, First Shot's focus is toward building a stronger, more courageous spirit to face opportunities and obstacles that our youth confront every day. To find out more about First Shot, go to firstshottn.org.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
Sponsored by Armstrong Pharmaceuticals.
The food's delicious at Adams Place.
Well, I'm afraid the food is too good. I have a problem turning down the dessert.
Alan Butcher at Adams Place.
But the food is wonderful. Danny and all the cooks and the servers back there are just wonderful to us. We have plenty to eat.
Hi, this is Terry Deal at Adams Place. Call me for more information about Adams Place. Phone 615-904-9111.
Adams Place on Memorial across from Walmart.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and AmeriCare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
You've probably heard it a million times. If you're injured, call a lawyer. And you probably haven't because you don't know how much it will cost, how long it will take, or even if you have a case. At the law offices of John Day, we provide a free initial consultation because we understand that folks don't want to pay a lawyer only to find out they don't have a case. If you think we can help, we do so on a contingency basis, which means we only get paid if you do. Seriously injured? Call me, John Day.
Thanks for tuning to WGNS for local news. You've been doing that for 78 years, and we thank you. You've heard us talking about a shortage of nurses. Well, Ascension St. Thomas Hospital is teaming with Marian University to offer a fast-paced 16-month course in their Bachelor of Science nursing program. You need to learn about it during a special meeting on the nursing shortage. That'll be Tuesday of next week. Not this week, but next week, Tuesday, April 15th, from 4 until 7 in the evening. You need to be there. And that'll be at Ascension St. Thomas West. That's in Nashville at 4220 Harding Place. 4 until 7 in the evening, next week, Tuesday, April 15th. Are you having trouble using your computer? They're offering free computer classes at the Technology Engagement Center. That's over on Minerva Drive here in Murfreesboro, a part of our public library. And if it's your smartphone that's giving you a challenge, just go by any of the Rutherford County public libraries and they'll help you work through that for free. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see sunny skies here this afternoon with a high in the upper 60s. Tonight, a slight chance for rain late, increasing clouds, a low near 48. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 36.
Middle Tennessee Electric presents the Rutherford County 24th Annual Earth Day celebration April 26th, 10 to 2 on the Murfreesboro Square. They'll provide free hot dogs and popcorn and the electric griddle food truck serving up those gourmet grilled cheese. Free fun for the whole family April 26th on the Square.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Wednesday Roundtable on WGNS. Glad to have you with us. Beverly Keel, the Dean of Media and the College of Media and Entertainment, joins us for the hour. And, it's endless, the routes that we can go when we talk to Beverly. I do want to concentrate for a few minutes about the college right now, and I know you just smiled so huge when I mentioned that.
Are you referring to the only college of media and entertainment in the world?
In the world, yes, exactly. It is. When we were in school, it was the mass comm department. We were part of
College of Mass Communication. Right.
Yeah, and then it became the College of Mass Communications, and now it's the College of Media and Entertainment, and I will say this, when you were named dean, every alum of the College of Media and Entertainment cheered because, one of our own.
Oh, that's nice.
One of our own, but, because that doesn't normally happen because colleges tend to look outside to bring new ideas in and all that. But you have such a wonderful base of experience and contacts and the college, from a semi-insider, semi-outsider looking in. It is so exciting what's going on. What excites you the most every day when you walk in the Bragg building?
We do really big things, but what touches me the most are the little things that sometimes we forget about. For instance, we're famous for taking students to the Grammy Awards, not just about the show, but out there for the week, and they meet with industry leaders and tour studios and other facilities. But keep in mind, some have never been on an airplane before.
That's right.
So we are able to broaden their horizons, make them dream bigger. In effect, we change their lives. We had students go to South Korea this summer for an animation festival, and their student film won an award there. We have our famous mobile production truck, which shoots lots of MTSU sports, concerts, the Big Machine Grand Prix, all sorts of things. So we're known for the real-world hands-on experience, and we're also known for our dedicated faculty. We are probably the least traditionally academic faculty, or among the least. So we're very approachable and engaged, and all our faculty are, whether they're working in copyright administration or filmmaking or journalism or whatever it is, they're photography, they're still very involved in the industry. So again, that enhances their classroom instruction and also helps students get jobs. And we are all about preparing students for jobs.
Yeah, and that's one thing Dr. McPhee, in his tenure, should get a lot of credit for, and that is putting together work-ready degrees. Right. And that's across the breadth of campus, but in the College of Media and Entertainment, it's even more so. And as you mentioned, like the production truck, there's probably not a vehicle on campus that has gotten more use than that one. It is a multi-million-dollar truck that, and I'll just use what you mentioned, the partnership with athletics. That I can't tell you what the number is, but it's a bunch. Probably 2 or 3 home football games, probably 20 basketball games, and along with a handful of soccer, volleyball, baseball, softball throughout the year. But these are games that are being produced live for ESPN Plus. So all of those kids, and I still call them kids, who are working those events, whether you are a production assistant, whether you are on-air talent, whether you're a camera operator, or someone working in audio, or as a director, the breadth of experience that they are getting in real world, and that is just one thing in the college that they're getting real world experience in that they can put on a resume when they graduate, but they are numerous across the college.
So we partner with Bonnaroo, and our mobile production truck goes out there. We broadcast live about 30 shows for Hulu, and our students either get class credit or they get paid depending on where they are. And one student did that, graduated, got to work with Carrie Underwood on tour, and then went out with Beyonce on tour.
Wow.
So again, they're getting real world hands-on experience, and many of our concentrations or majors, you have to have that real world hands-on experience. Your 100th journalism story you write is much better than your 5th. So you have to keep doing it. So that's what Sidelines this year is going to have its 100th anniversary, which is a student newspaper where I was sports editor and a columnist. And we have so much exciting things going on. We have WMOT, which is a top 20 Americana NPR affiliated station. And we have a photography gallery in our building that's spectacular. We have Christine Potter, who's a photography professor. You can see her work in the New York Times, and she's had her work in Japan and Italy and France, and so we have big shot faculty who are the most down to earth people you'll ever meet. Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up the partnership with athletics, and you mentioned Bonnaroo as well, Bob Gordon, is the interim chair, and has been working. He is like the faculty person who kind of heads up a lot of the live production of sports and the Bonnaroo project and all of that. He was just received an honor from Conference USA as a faculty award winner, and very well deserved, because Bob has the patience of Job sometimes when it comes to working through these events. And I'll be working with him on an event coming up at the end of this month, the Raiders' Choice Awards that we've been doing now for 11 years, and he's been part of it almost every year. So it's a lot of fun, and we get to work with the student media and stuff. It's been a great partnership.
And we also should mention Mike Forbes
Yes.
and Charles Scudder, who literally work around the clock. Whether it's Bonnaroo Week, they put in like 90 hours. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But they are doing something all the time. Either they're taking the truck out or bringing it back in, laying
I saw
cables.
Forbesy on Monday. He was at an event I was at.
Yeah.
So, but that was great. Now, one other huge area that is the recording industry program.
Yes.
And kind of, give folks the how that I remember it used to be, you had the studios over in Haynes House over on East Main, but it's a whole new world now, and you've done tons of projects. I remember the lady from Nashville, the gospel singer.
Right.
You all did a great project with her, but putting kids or students into the workforce in the music business, and there's several different areas, whether it's to kind of tell people what's available and out there.
So our recording industry department every year makes both the Billboard and the Hollywood Reporter's list of the top music business programs in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It is the largest department in the college. We have 1,200 students. Audio production has about 600. Music business has 400, and commercial songwriting has about 150. And then we have 2 graduate programs. We have an MFA in Recording Arts and Technologies. And we also have, that's housed in the Jones College of Business, an MBA with a music business focus. And so thanks to the vision and generosity of President McPhee, we have been able to grow and evolve as the industry has grown and evolved. So yes, we have the traditional programs that prepare you for being a producer and engineer, but also soundtrack design, and we've had graduates develop apps. If you think about it now, we say everything is audio now because everything talks to you, your house, your car, your phone, and we create. I always say we're the college of the truth tellers and the storytellers, and we create the content for your phone, whether it's a piece of journalism, an ad, a song, a movie, a photograph, a cartoon. If it moves, we create it.
I've walked in the animation lab over there and just been blown away with what I've seen. I was fortunate to be on the committee that designed the Center for Innovation in Media, the CIM, and we worked and put that together because it's interesting how things come full circle. I remember when I was in high school working at WKRM in Columbia and then working over here at WGNS, you tried to do anything and everything you could to get your hands on. Well, then we go through an era of specialization. Well, now we've come full circle. We're back to where people who used to be, they were a TV reporter. Well, now they're MMJs. They're multimedia journalists, and the Center for Innovation in Media puts them in a position to where they can report on a story and put it on all platforms, whether it's a TV package, whether it's a story for sidelines or a website or whatever, and then strip the audio off, re-edit it, and make it a radio news package. So there's that I'm really proud of that part of the building because that was my area, growing up and coming through college.
What's a great thing is when our students from other departments collaborate.
Yes.
One of the best examples we have is the college commercial we created, thanks to Andrew Ottman, and it aired nationally.
Correct.
And it was called We Do It All, and our media arts students wrote the commercial, directed
I was going to say,
it.
every piece of that came from
and
campus.
our songwriting students wrote the song and performed the song. Our audio production students recorded the song, and it won a Mid-South Emmy Award and 2 Telly Awards.
Wow.
And then our songwriting students just wrote 2 songs for Conference USA that will be used, one for the women's athletics and one for the men's. They're very exciting. So we wrote and recorded those songs. So
did Conference USA just come with, hey, we have an idea, we need some branding?
So they called Andrew Rotman and said,
I
believe said, can you recommend a third party that we can hire to do this since you know music? And he goes, well, we can do it for you. And we submitted both songs, and they couldn't choose, so they said, we'll use them both.
Wow.
So they're really good, yeah. Yeah.
I haven't heard those yet, so that'll be fun. And you've also had faculty who people are very familiar with over time, and one in particular that I think about was Chris Clark.
Oh yes,
the longtime news anchor from Channel 5. I remember walking in in the Bragg building, and there'd be a line of students waiting with notes in hand and waiting for their turn to practice stand-ups in front of Chris Clark. And here's Mr. Nashville, between he and Dan Miller, and Judd Collins before that, watched Nashville News. You had to know who Chris Clark was, and to be critiqued by him, that was a big deal. And I think about my buddy Chris Davis, who's at Channel 5 now. He talks about Chris Clark all the time and how much it meant to go to class with him and what a difference it made in his college experience.
Well, and it's so funny because I would see Chris Clark in the hallway, and I think, oh, some of our students have no idea how fortunate they are to learn from this legend. And he was so patient and kind with the students. He's just wonderful. And I was actually able to hire him when I was director of the Sickenthaler Chair of First Amendment Studies. We brought him under that umbrella.
Right.
And then Dennis O'Neill got him as an adjunct. And every time I'd see him in the hallway, I'd just giggle and go, "Oh, you're Chris Clark." It's just because that's what I grew up watching Chris Clark and Ruth Ann Leach, and then Dan Miller and Demetria Kaladimos. So,
and you mentioned Ruth Ann Leach, and she played a major role in your life. For folks, she was back. I remember Ruth Ann as Chris Clark's co-anchor, and then a longtime radio host on WLAC talk radio in Nashville, and was very influential in her career, and obviously was influential in your career.
So she was the first woman anchor in Nashville, I believe, and she anchored the news at night. She had a radio show, WLAC, and then a weekly column in the Banner, and my father was her editor, and I actually met her at his funeral. And she took me under her wing immediately. And in fact, so Dad died a month before I graduated high school. I still had to figure out where to go to college. And I had been accepted to Tulane. And I remember her saying, well, if you go to Tulane, I can't really help you because I don't know people there. But if you go to MTSU, I can help introduce you to people in Nashville journalism. And she is a mentor to this day. She's Ruth Ann Harnish now. She's a philanthropist, and she's done everything. And she's the one I can go to when I'm at my lowest, and she'll pick me up, and I don't have to pretend everything is always happy and shiny. She knows the real me. So, and I guess that's where I got some of my work ethic from. Because,
because she never stopped.
She never stopped. Yeah.
Whether like you said, she had a daytime gig on the radio, and work. Didn't get off the air on TV until 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. And we talked about Chris Clark being being a faculty member. He's not anymore. He's retired. Right. But talk about a couple of any other faculty members if you want to name drop a little there, of folks who have been super influential with some of the students.
We have John Merchant, who audio production faculty. He was chair of the recording industry department for about 5 years, And he worked with the Bee Gees and Barry Gibb for about, for 30 years. She still works with Barry and was a vocal producer on Barry Gibb's #1 album, the last one that came out. And we have Daniel Rowland, who works with Adrian Belew of King Crimson, and he develops apps, and he's worked on an Oscar-winning animated film. And we have, we have so many people. It's hard to name them. We have Tom Neff, who was founder of the documentary channel that now works as a filmmaking professor. Melissa Wald, who is known as a copyright administration expert. She teaches copyright administration. We have entertainment attorneys, journalists, public relations experts, you name it.
There's probably not another department or college on campus at MTSU whose teaching staff has more cool side gigs than the College of Media and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. Beverly Keel is our guest. She is the dean of the College of Media and Entertainment. And right back with the final segment here on WGNS.
The Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Department is going door to door asking for your help in the 2025 special census. The only information they will ask for is your street address, the number of residents living at that address, and their first and last names. That's it, and it only takes a couple of minutes to complete. Information gathered for the special census provides funds to improve our public safety division, and that benefits the entire community. You can also fill out the special census online at murfreesborocensus.com.
Gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
With Progressive Snapshot, you could save on auto insurance rates by driving safely, which is nice because you can just keep doing you. So keep on using that broken phone charger because it occasionally works. Keep quoting something you heard on a podcast as your own. Keep ignoring your sister's texts while you drive and after. And when baggage claim says, have a great trip, keep on saying, you too. And keep driving safely, and you could save with Snapshot from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
Murfreesboro firefighters are going door to door to ensure that everyone is counted in the special census. Every resident means more funding for roads, schools, and emergency services. Up to $3.5 million more each year. So don't wait. Fill out the mailer you received or visit murfreesborocensus.com. That's murfreesborocensus.com. Every name matters, including yours. Help us help Murfreesboro. Fill out your special census form today. murfreesborocensus.com.
This is Pastor Nikki Ajapong, the lead pastor of Holy Hill Chapel in Murfreesboro on Northwest Broad Street.
Here are sermons on WGNS every Sunday night at 7:30.
Our sermons are loaded with the keys of the kingdom. If you don't have the keys, you'll be stranded.
Visit Holy Hill Chapel, tn.org to hear our podcast.
Our congregation is made up of a variety of nationalities, people from Africa, people from the Caribbean, we have people from Asia, Europe. Here in America, we have people who grew up in Murfreesboro, people who grew up in Chicago. When we had our international service this year, we had 24 nationalities. Everyday life, never take it for granted. You wake up, you get food to eat. You know, somebody doesn't have it. Don't take it for granted. You can learn more about us by visiting our website, holyhillchapeltn.org.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Wednesday Roundtable. Chip Walters with you. And if you miss any of this with Beverly Keel, you can always go back and find it on wgnsradio.com and under the podcast section, and on Big G TV on YouTube. It'll be there here shortly. We talked about your life within the Bragg Building as the dean of the College of Media and Entertainment, but your outside life of being a reporter, a writer, is there's a lot of that's very romantic, and being able to do a lot of things, and in particular, some how you've forged friendships and things along the way with people. Because I know you and I think you're pretty good friends with Lionel Richie and Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees.
Well, I only know Barry Gibb because of John Merchant.
Okay.
John had Barry come to campus, and so I hosted an evening with Barry Gibb, and it was magical, where I talked to him about his career, and he'd play songs and everything, and I guess Barry was pleased with it, because then he asked me when he was coming out with a new album. I flew down to Miami and hosted a YouTube 360 event with him, but that's only because of John Merchant.
Right, but Lionel Richie is he's a fun guy. I remember. I guess I don't know if you were in college yet, but Lionel Richie played Murphy Center.
Wow,
and the Pointer, this is when he was, big time.
Yeah.
And the Pointer Sisters opened for him, and they were fantastic. And then he comes on, and of course, his last song was All Night Long.
Yes.
And it went all night long. I mean, he just kept going, and it was a sold out crowd at Murphy Center, and just a super night. But he's a guy who went to Tuskegee,
yes,
and was part. He was the lead singer of the Commodores before he broke out, and just seems like a great guy.
He is even better than you would hope. I always say being around Lionel Richie is like being around the sun. It is so warm, and it feels good, and you just want to do it again. And he is the best storyteller. He'll tell you stories about, how Frank Sinatra would call him kid, and world leaders. He knows everybody. When they had King Charles coronation festivities, he was invited to play over there. He's just, he's amazing.
Great story of his life is a great story.
Yeah.
Growing up in Alabama and doing what he has done in his life. Well, speaking of world leaders, in your journalistic career, you have had the opportunity to interview presidents and first ladies.
Yeah.
Who of those? Drop a few names here, and who really impressed you?
The most memorable, two were really memorable: Walter Cronkite and Billy Graham.
Oh my gosh!
Billy Graham was unbelievable. I worked for American Profile magazine in Franklin, and it had a circulation of like 12 million. It was like
it used to be in the Sunday newspaper.
Right.
And
because of that, we got national figures. So they brought me in essentially to interview famous people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was Bill Carter, who is a well-known attorney and artist manager, helped me get an interview with him, and I got a call one day. I was just pulling on campus, and they said, "Can you be here tomorrow to interview Billy Graham?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so I drove back to Nashville, where I lived at the time, packed my clothes, drove to Asheville, North Carolina, and the next morning went to his house.
Wow.
And they had wanted to know what kinds of questions I would be asking, so fortunately I had prepped a lot for the interview, but it was surreal. And I interviewed him kind of a room off from the kitchen by his fireplace, and I was almost having an out-of-body experience where I was looking down on me interviewing Billy Graham and thinking, God, world leaders have been in this chair. And we just talked about
presidents and kings have counseled him.
And we talked about how he still had hope, and he shared the story of right after the war, he was filling Wembley Stadium several nights, and Winston Churchill asked to see him, and so he went and met with Winston Churchill, who said, I couldn't fill Wembley Stadium if I had Marilyn Monroe. How are you able to do this? And he goes, well, it's Jesus Christ, and that's what. Oh, and there were newspapers on the table with post-war news, and he goes, how are you able to have hope? And he goes, well, through Jesus. Jesus gives me hope. And, interesting, though, because I said, are you worried about what's going on in our nation? We're so divided. And he goes, oh, we've been more divided than this. Were you around during the Civil War? And so and another thing, I said, what accomplishments are you most proud of? And he said, they're not my accomplishments, they're God's.
Wow.
And then when I met Walter Cronkite, that was also an out-of-body experience, because I'm asking him about talking about announcing Kennedy's death and coming out against the Vietnam War. And, when he came in, I hear this legendary voice coming down the hall that I had heard at dinner every night growing up. So, and I interviewed President Carter and the second President Bush, and separately Laura Bush. So, the American Profile made a lot of things happen.
I mean, what a title! Beverly Keel, American Profile. I interview famous people.
Right. Well,
that was your job.
Yeah.
And and it's interesting. You talk about Walter Cronkite, and he was the gold standard of broadcast news. And how do you, when you look at that, and now you look at how segmented our television news and, any media, whether it's an online source or whatever, everybody, I think there's a search for truth, but people end up finding what they feel is their truth.
Right. No, it's a scary time because.
How do you handle that? And then let's turn that back around to students,
right?
And how do we, teach that to be, journalistically.
And it's not just for the journalists,
right?
It's for the readers as well. So we are increasing our digital literacy efforts in classes, because you need to know the source of what you're reading, and you need to know if it's true or not. And you could call it an echo chamber, where you only expose yourself to things that you believe in. And then if you do that, whatever it is, you get more extreme, right? So if you're into animal rights, if you only talk to animal rights people, you're going to get way to the extreme of that, whatever it is, So that is a growing concern, not only for our journalism students, but for all of our students.
Yeah. Now, when you hear, I don't know, whoever it is, when they, and I'll use air quotes here, that's the media.
Oh, it drives me crazy, because if they knew what we did to make sure the facts were accurate, and the levels it has to go through, right? Now, because it goes, editors then read it to make sure it's fair and balanced, and that it has, not only that the facts are accurate, but it's written in a way that it's clear to understand. And journalists are so competitive; they want the best story. They're not putting their slant in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I interviewed Republicans and Democrats. I wanted to interview them first, and I wanted to do the best interview, whatever it was, and I wanted to quote them accurately. And so that's frustrating to me.
Another that to me is one of the overarching issues we have, because there's so much out there that can be consumed,
right?
But there's only so much that is done well,
right?
Does that make any sense?
And now we're going to have AI.
Right.
And then AI generates things that aren't factually accurate.
Correct.
So it's scary. So you've got to, know your source. And there's a prominent country singer who shares stuff every day that's clearly just made up. And I think, how don't you know? Anytime you see somebody turn down $100 million deal from CMT, it's not true. They don't offer those deals. Stop. They're not true.
Right.
So I don't know why people want to make that up, but they do. People just sit around and make up, they do make up videos or photos or stories. So you've really got to know the source.
Yeah, and you talked about the AI stuff. They can now alter video.
Oh, yes.
And you see people doing, they'll take, I'll catch it where they've taken somebody's post-game interview, like a coach of whoever, and they have run it through some sort of AI generator and told it to say this, and it comes up, and if you're not paying attention, well, that looked real and that sounded real, but it's not really real, and that bothers me, and also, you and I both grew up with the blue AP style book.
Right.
And I read this stuff that is clickbait.
Oh, yes.
That the who, what, where, when, and why is not in the lead. But
they just make it up.
It's also to get you to click on to the next thing. And so I said, that would not pass Dr. Kimbrell's class right there.
Last week I sat in on a class about AI that was in journalism, and unbelievably they would say, we were just able to do this a week ago, right? So we can have AI create a cat or a woman or a man, and then we can make it move. But the developments are so fast, it's like, well, we've been able to do this for a week. So so we haven't even had AI, with ChatGPT and all that for 2 years. So think where we're going to be in a year.
Yeah. But all of that being said, you are the mother figure of these 1,200 students in the College of Media and Entertainment, and pulling out what Billy Graham told you in this crazy world and I'll use media again, and media and everything that people say they are media. And the kids you see coming through college now in the College of Media and Entertainment, is your hope still there?
Oh, absolutely. They are. You spend 10 minutes with one of our students, and you have hope for our future. They are passionate and dedicated, and our students are so scrappy. They work so hard, and they want to do a good job, and they want to do well, and they're all so different. And I always say, well, if you see a student with green hair or piercings or tattoos, there's a good chance that they're one of ours.
Yeah.
But I tell parents they don't have to have green hair or tattoos to come here. We don't force them to do that, but they're just fascinating, and they're amazing. To spend any time with them, you're going to leave hopeful and excited about the future, and reassured. Yeah, they're great.
They're still
so
inquisitive.
great.
They're still inquisitive.
Oh, they're the best. Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't trade our students for any other students in the world. They're so special in that they're very serious about what they do, but they don't have egos, and they work so hard. I wish you could see how hard they work.
Yeah, and with all the things you do, you light up when you talk about the students. Is that the best part of your professional world?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's been a fun hour. I've been meaning to do this for a little while, but you lead a pretty busy life as well, and I'm so glad that we were able to sit down. We'll have to do this again.
I'm just glad you let me back in after I knocked the station off the air in 1986.
Well, Bart didn't know you were coming.
I guess the statute of limitations has expired.
Absolutely. It certainly has. Thanks again.
Appreciate
you, Chip. It. All right. Beverly Keel has been our guest today on the Wednesday Roundtable. Hope you enjoyed that hour. And again, it is on wgnsradio.com under the podcast section. Brian Barrett is coming up next. So keep it here all day, all the time on the Big G, WGNS.
The Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Department is going door to door asking for your help in the 2025 special census. The only information they will ask for is your street address, the number of residents living at that address, and their first and last names. That's it, and it only takes a couple of minutes to complete. Information gathered for the special census provides funds to improve our public safety division, and that benefits the entire community. You can also fill out the special census online at murfreesborocensus.com.